Hi everybody. So I wanted to talk about epigenetics. There's a really good book called It Didn't Start With You by Wylonn or something like that. And that's what I liked because it helped me to start my journey on epigenetics and stuff like that. And there's exercises in it. So it's really great because I love books with exercises because it helps your body, right? So epigenetics is basically a trigger on your DNA that can cause patterns and cycles to be in your life, that can open up different pathways to the trauma of your past, ancestral trauma. It's just a very, very basic way of saying it. But due to this, there are things that come up either emotionally or mentally or even physically, like my family, I hear people say my family has a lot of heart attacks or diabetes or cancer and this or that or whatever. And a lot of that is linked to epigenetics. Things that are wanting you to look at them to be healed. So that's why emotional and mental health is really a big part of your physical health, right? So for example, there's a lot of abandonment in my family, a lot of neglect, a lot of emotional neglect, not necessarily like neglect, but my dad was raised by somebody who was an addict. She had a lot of guys in the house. There was an unstable relationship there with men and stuff. There was emotional, mental abuse. There was him actually being neglected, being left, and then he had to go to child protective services, and then he was at a boys' home. He did graduate college. There were people in his life that were resources, right? Which is probably why he didn't turn into an addict. He did turn into an alcoholic, but in my opinion, there is healing around that. And, you don't have to be an addict your whole life, or it doesn't have to be an issue your whole life, like a huge issue, with certain healing modalities and things like that. But, teach their own. Speaking of alcoholism, there's a really great somatic book and guy who does, it's called the Proactive 12 Steps. I'll link that too. And anyway, so instead of using like God, it's more creator, spirituality, and somatic. So it's more helpful and for some people. So anyway, so this was in my dad, and then he just continued this cycle and pattern, which is why I tell people to do genograms, which is why I tell people to do work on their caregivers and their intimate partners so they can quit repeating the patterns, quit hurting themselves so much, and then start learning different ways to love themselves and be in relationship with other people. It's challenging work. If you're always in a state of survival, this kind of stuff is really challenging to do, if not impossible to do. So I get that a lot of people do it. If you have coping skills and mindfulness skills though, somatic skills, those things can help. There's a lot of free counseling out there, and there's so much information now that you could just do the work on your own. If you wanted to, if you could, right? There's a lot of things out there now. Having a counselor is really helpful. Anyway, so epigenetics is really important. Doing the genogram, doing the writings is really important so you can change the life you're leading. I know this sounds a little bit like, well, if people are in survival, they can't do this, and that's true, but at some point, you can make a choice and try it out. So epigenetics is a big thing, and so look into it, and it helps to know all of this to help your healing emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Also, while you're in relationship with somebody, what we don't want is to pass down those genetics. So see, in all of what I'm saying, you're passing these genetics down to your kids. So essentially what we would want are the parents to do their work, their healing work, to see all these cycles and patterns I'm talking about, and then produce offspring, produce kiddos, produce children. So then these children hopefully aren't getting a lot of these genetic programmings of trauma, of intergenerational trauma, right? It's not a perfect system, but it's helpful. And so then you're having conscious parents raising children consciously. And that means that they're paying attention to their emotions, their mental state, their physical state, things like that. So it's more work, yes. It's challenging, yes, but it is accessible. And it's really just a choice at this point with a large majority of society to not do it or to do it. And like I said, a large portion, not all the portions, but a large portion. And again, I am taking in the socioeconomic factor, diversity, things like that. But again, yeah, your life, a lot of it is a choice. So, yeah. Okay, bye.